Be awesome at facility management, listeners, followers, and live viewers. This is your host, Joshua Peach, for another episode, episode 28. And today we have no guest. I do, however, have my co host with the most, Mr. Paul Anastasi. Paul,
Hi,
how are you,
everyone.
my friend?
Good. How you doing? Did you survive? You get a good rest last night after all those miles you logged in?
I
We
got a,
logged in.
I got a good rest, and it looks like you're at your favorite house.
I am.
Uh,
I'm at my beach house from the Hampton Beach Studios in
I,
Northampton, New Hampshire.
I also found out yesterday that all your houses are your favorite.
They're all my favorite. Yes, we did the things you learn when you ride for 4 to 6 hours in a truck with someone and they answer the
Yes,
phone.
yes.
There's
The
no secrets.
Yeah, well, um, yeah, well, let's get into this because this is another adventure. I think we're going to pull out some cool stuff for the future. But for the last, so it's basically, well, first I need to ask. I mean, it's been 22 hours since you spent 36 hours, with me directly. Do you miss me yet?
Oh, terribly, terribly. I kind of went through withdrawals. But I did order the helmet. I did order
Yeah,
the helmet for the next time I drive with you.
yeah, yeah.
So I think I'll be okay. I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, well, it didn't take but a minute, but friend Anthony Amiano noticed your shirt. He said, "Cool shirt, Paul." So,
Well,
uh,
this shirt it comes from my alma mater. I mean, I meant to tell you while we were in New Jersey that it's located somewhere between Rutgers and Princeton,
yeah,
and that's where I did my graduate studies. And I wear it proudly from What's the Matter You.
yeah. What's the matter, you? Yeah, I've got a tank top and a t-shirt there. I gotta sport mine, and mine's actually I'm wearing something cool, which is a New Rochelle Facilities Department shirt that was given to us by our friends at New Rochelle the other day. What's really cool is the back of it. It says on the back of the shirt, it says helping our students do great things, and we're going to get into that. But first and foremost, here's how this week it has gone. Probably, I guess a couple of weeks ago, I called Paul and I said, "Hey, I got to speak down in New Jersey, and on Thursday morning for the leadership summit for the New Jersey School Building and Grounds Association. This group is truly the gold standard of building and grounds associations for education institutions." And they just do an amazing job. They do great with their trainings and certification courses and everything. So it's just always an honor to do it. And I could have just driven down. It was 4 hour drive, 5 hour drive, depending on traffic, and done the talk and come back. But I wanted to make it an adventure because that's what it's all about. And so I called Paul and I said, "Hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to drive down a day early and we're going to go visit some schools and visit some friends, and we're going to see how they're doing, and we're going to look at their different spaces, their different places, and most importantly, their people." And Paul agreed to it. So at 5:30 a.m. on Wednesday, I picked him up at one of the three park and rides in Millbury, Massachusetts, on the Mass Turnpike, and we drove a total of almost 700 miles in 36 hours. We toured almost 1.2 million square feet in six school buildings, five in New Rochelle, and one in Morris Union in New Jersey. And we'll get into that. And when we were coming home yesterday, I typically do this with a lot of people with experiences. I go, what was your favorite part? And I think we both looked at each other and we're like, all of it. And we should share it with our audience. So, we can start from the beginning. We can just start throwing stuff out that we think was awesome with regard to the trip, or I could just say, what was your favorite or your couple of first favorites? Because I know there was a lot of them, and we'll go from there.
Well, I mean, before we get into like the real facility stuff, the reason that we're here on the
Yeah,
podcast, full disclosure is that you mentioned you fluffed over that there are three parking rides in that area of the Worcester County along the Mass Pike, and that I was going to one parking ride and your GPS was taking you to another.
yeah,
And it was formerly exit 10A, which the
yeah,
state of Massachusetts and DOT in the federal level has changed the exit, so that didn't help matters.
yeah.
And you asked which mile marker I was on, and I said I was on 110, and you said you were on 99, and we thought we were like in different states at that point. We didn't know where we were. So that was like 5:30 a.m. It was
Yeah.
first thing in the morning. That's how we started our trip.
Yeah. And then we had glorious Egg McMuffins, hash browns, and orange juices.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then right after that, and then the McCafe coffee that almost killed us.
Yeah.
Someone got in the way when I tried to change lanes because we were lost in Hartford, which never happens.
Right. I was going to say it was a combination of the McCafe coffee, your driving skills, and fighting with the GPS all at the same time. I think that's what did it.
I think my driving skills are very, very much in tune. I think everybody else.
I don't want to show my age here, but I'm not sure how many of our listeners remember the Joey Chitwood stunt drivers. They would play at all the country fairs. Those are the guys that put their vehicles up on two wheels and they drive around the track.
Yep.
And the driver stands outside the vehicle and it keeps going and he's steering with his feet.
Yeah.
You probably did everything short of that, but did keep us on the road. You kept us on the highway.
So, but this is the thing. You started scared, but by our trip back, getting close to the Mass Pike, you were like, I bet you won't do that. That truck just did it with a trailer on the back, and he did it. I bet you won't do that. So
he was driving at 80 miles an hour, dragging a trailer with a heavy tank on top of it, and he made it. So I know you could do it in this truck. So yeah, it started out. I was a little nervous. It ended up I was challenging you.
Yes. And then I almost, not to be overlooked, but something I haven't talked about for most of my life, and I don't know why until recently, but sharing that I grew up, spent part of my youth in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and we took a detour yesterday morning. I showed you where I learned to ride my bike for the first time on two wheels, and I showed you.
And now I know why you drive like you do, because this is nothing short of the ski hill that we were in Michigan on for the conference at Michigan Asbo.
Yep,
and that's where you learned how to ride.
Push and go. That's it. That's all you got to do. You got to push and go. But I showed you the fence I sat on. I showed you the museum I went to and all that stuff. And then we continued on our way to New Rochelle. We're getting blown up here on the chat. Eric Erdman, I thought Paul graduated from the School of Hard Knocks. You know it, buddy. And you know it, and you should have answered yesterday when we called, because now it's definitely no toes in. Anthony says the missus loves it too. I'm guessing referring to your shirt. David Young, who does have experience driving with me, says he agrees with the helmet. April McCoy, miss you. Josh, miss you too. Eric Erdman, passengers are encouraged to ride with helmet with Peaches at the wheel. Have you ever ridden with Eric Erdman?
No, I haven't.
It's like he learned how to drive in like a stagecoach.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he doesn't drive at night. I mean, it's like it's an improbability for you. If the street lights go on, the chances of Erdman giving you a ride are slim and none. So,
and just to be fair to the people that are listening and don't understand that what we do, we've done this now for the second time on a road trip. That when we drive, after a while, after an hour or so, we get bored with each other. So Josh goes into his deep pockets of contacts and just says, "Let's call this guy."
You froze.
And let's call Erdman. And let's call Skip Bandini in Falmouth. And and if you don't answer, you pay the price for the message that we leave. Oh, you're frozen on me. Can you hear me? I think Josh is taking a time out here. Amy must have finally caught up with him and told him to go to his room. Either that or Chance, be one or two. Are you
Yep.
back?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back now. You were frozen.
Oh man, I thought you were frozen. I was talking. Did you tell everybody what we did with the phone?
I told everybody that Amy put you in timeout, and that's why you had to leave.
I was sitting there talking like you were frozen. Like, come on, Paul, get with it. Come
Yeah,
on, man, get your internet up.
yeah. Where are you?
Yeah. No, that's right. So we left off with going into the phones,
Yeah.
and we started calling people. And yesterday, what we did was we made Paul me. So we'd call from my phone, and Paul would leave a message to try to confuse people. So we definitely called Eric and played that trick on him, but he didn't get back to us in time. So now he's trying to be mean with his comments to us. So we'll get back to him. So we drive from Bridgeport to New Rochelle, and I got to tell you, what were your thoughts?
Right out of the gate, that Keith Watkins is like number one, best host, best, one of the best guys that I've known. I met him early on back in Atlantic City in New Jersey years ago, and then he comes through as a shining star in our industry for sure.
Yeah. I mean, he was right out of the gate.
Yep.
It was right. I mean, as soon as you walked into his office, from all of his, his wall flair. I think there was one thing that said, I got to find it. It was something about success. Without succession, you can't have success.
Right.
He's really a person that he lives the quotes that he looks at full on, because meeting, one of the coolest things for me was meeting Myrick and being able to take him out to lunch and getting to know him.
And second to that was the white soft paper towels in the town hall. I pick up on little things. I use the men's room in the town hall, and I've never been in a public building that didn't have brown, hard paper towels. And they had soft white paper towels that it's like, I don't know how you do it with low bidder, man, but it's working.
He did. And I mean, he even told us he's got it figured out where he actually pays less for it.
Right.
But I mean, all the way down to soap dispenser pump volume. Like when you think about all the things that facility professionals have to think about, consider, and then battle with vendors. I mean, vendors are in the business to make money. So you have this challenge where a vendor is saying, hey, you should get this, this soap pump dispenser, and here's why. And here's the reality. I mean, and he made a good point in reference to this, and I make it all the time. It's like you never take one paper towel. Everybody's always swiping underneath that. Right. So when does somebody actually figure out when one swipe is enough and what that length is, right? Or
same thing with the pump on the soap. Exactly. No one pumps once when you go to the soap dispenser.
And when he told his story about the pump dispenser and keeping up with the CDC guidelines and everything else, and saving wasted soap based on the number of pumps that we naturally do, I thought that was just like, I just didn't even think into it.
Right.
And then we get into the buildings. I mean, he was an amazing host. He toured us around town. I thought he was taking us, and it is the crown jewel, but they've got multiple crown jewels in that city. That high school was just nothing short of impressive. I mean,
but he showed us all of it. He didn't just show us the crown jewel. Right. He showed us that middle school, that down the main corridor. I don't know if you put that picture up on the posted on LinkedIn yet, but people should see the main corridor and the water main that ran through their building that was, deluged during Ida, that they're digging up, where the trench in the corridor of the middle school is over 6 feet deep. There were workers in the trench, and the trench was over their head by a foot.
Yep.
And it's where the water line, and I'm not sure of my diameters here. I'm not as good with numbers as you are. But I think he said the water line went from an 8-inch to a 4-inch as it went downhill. And that's not going to work. Or it worked for years, but it didn't work during a hurricane.
Right.
And it's like, you got to see it. And I asked him, is this going to be done for school? He said, yeah, absolutely. Like, just like that. just so not so. Yep, yeah, that's going to be done. And
Yeah.
I have no doubt that it will, though, just by the way he said it.
Right. Well, I was like, where are the kids going to be when school starts? And he's like,
Right.
here. And it was
Yep.
like, oh my God. And he's replacing the high school gymnasium floor at the same time, or the middle school gymnasium floor at the same time.
Yep.
Replacing I didn't realize how much damage Mount Ida had done to their district. Replacing the entire high school gymnasium.
Yep.
I mean,
and the library. The library, which was underground to begin with. Right.
Right. And all the other projects.
Right. He's got regular summer projects, and then he's got hurricane projects going on all at the same time.
Right. Right. One of the cool things that I found was there's a couple more things in New Rochelle. One was the custodian that came out of the bathroom that immediately called him out and gave him a big hug. And Keith shared the story about how she had retired, and they brought her back because they couldn't let her leave. And she was an hour
and she wasn't using the bathroom. She came out because she was cleaning the bathroom.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, she was working.
Right, she was working hard and doing a great job because, like I said, she retired and she's back in. Like that, she didn't get they didn't give her a chance to stay retired very long.
And she wanted to give him a hug and tell him that she wouldn't see him until September because she was going home on vacation. She was supposed to be retired. Right. And she had this apologetic tone, because she was leaving to go back to Croatia to see her family, and wouldn't be there for a month until school opened. I'll see you in September, she said.
Yep.
In an apologetic voice, someone who retired.
Well, that was the thing. I mean, Keith's got over 100 employees, team members, custodians and technicians, and everywhere we went, I mean, everybody was talking to him. I mean, he knew everyone. He knows every square foot, and he knows everyone. And the projects and everything that he's putting in there is nothing short of extraordinary. I do have to say before, I have a really hard time with my favorite because my favorite has to be, but there's going to be a close second. My favorite had to have been the courtyard at that elementary school.
Yeah.
That was the best.
And I'm thinking the planetarium was a close second.
Bingo. Yeah. I mean, if I didn't have such a tirade about courtyards and I didn't put such a pressure on the world to start doing better with them, that would have been a real tough one. But no, hands down, that courtyard was impressive.
And it was done by the community, right? That's what he told us?
Yeah.
Community members that came out to put the courtyard together.
Yeah, I think it was a community. Well, the community keeps it up too. They don't do anything. They don't do any of the weeding or anything. It's the community and the kids. But they had, and there was a picture of that on my LinkedIn page, that they have like an outdoor classroom and they have some murals up and they have little gardens. But it's just a really cool, comfortable place for kids to go. And it's safe, right? It's enclosed. There's a door from the inside to get there. And again, the custodial supervisor was just awesome. Like there was just such good communication and banter, and then
we announced we were coming like when we were maybe a quarter mile away.
Yeah.
Called them and let them know we're on our way and we're pulling in the parking lot.
We're in the parking lot trying to find a place.
He had no time to prepare. We just showed up and walked in.
And we were an hour early.
Yeah, exactly.
So. And again, like in his pure fashion, which is just amazing, you never saw him sweat. Like he could, and his phone was going off.
Yep.
Like everyone that we go to see, that the phone just goes off and over and over again. But they've got 11 schools, 11,000 kids, just an amazing community, just outside of New York City. The planetarium I got to talk about. Keith says, "Hey, I want to show you guys this. It's in the high school." And we walk in, and the team member that oversees the planetarium, his name is Bruce. He's been taking care of the planetarium since 1999. And what was really cool was they have the original equipment. So planetariums were put in high schools in the 70s. That was a really popular thing to put into schools. Brockton, Massachusetts, which is the city right next to my town, which was the largest high school west of the Mississippi, or east of the Mississippi. Got to get my geography down. I'm getting the planets right, but not my geography. But east of the Mississippi for quite some time. That was built in, I think, 1972. is another one that I know that has a planetarium. But they have the original equipment to show the constellations and the stars and everything that comes up from underground and pops up in the middle of the room. But they've upgraded with all of these projectors. And for those of you that don't know what a planetarium is, it's a half oval ceiling that they can project. What he was projecting was amazing. I mean, we could see asteroids shooting by the skyline, the New York City skyline with all of the stars and constellations. What an eclipse looks like, real time, like a timeline.
Real time eclipse.
A real time timeline eclipse. Just really, really cool stuff. I mean, I was just fascinated by it, and they opened that up to the community a couple times a month for people to just go in and see a session of it. So
and they play music to it and show films up on there, and it's an amazing space that not many public school systems have the opportunity to have. It just blew me away.
Yep.
And then, getting back to favorite, I'm an architecture guy. I think that middle school architecture, it was like a castle. Coming into that building from the outside and saying, wow, look at this building. What a presentation. What's it like, the front of the building? And he told me that's the back of the building.
Right.
Because I said, it's awful funny that they have a loading dock here in the front of the building. He said, no, that's the back of the building.
Right. But other than the loading dock, the front of that building,
that part of the building was spectacular.
Yeah, and I mean, it's commanding. We could see it from a half a mile away, driving up to it, and it took your breath away. Like if you're into buildings and architecture, I mean, they had a couple of buildings. The high school, that was originally the junior high school, which I protested and said that the plaque said the high school, but the junior was missing. But even their old, not as old, but older elementary schools had some amazing character.
Yeah.
The auditorium in one of those elementary schools, that was really, really cool. I think it was from 1928. So, no, I think we had 8,000 steps before lunch.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We stopped at world famous Patsy's for pizza, and then made our way on down south further. But it was really amazing. These visits, I love doing them with no agenda.
Right.
For a large part of my career, I would go to these visits with the intention to sell something, and now I get to go to these visits to see something, and really pay attention and get lost. Right.
And as with these podcasts, you very rarely have an agenda.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we just kind of hot mic it.
Hot mic. Let's go with it.
Mic it all. I mean, that's what's fun, right? I mean, I don't think I laugh as hard in most of my life as I do when you and I are together doing one of these silly trips or, crazy ideas. I mean, we literally laugh almost the entire time. Like we were laughing at everything.
And after the day one, as exhausted as we were when we went to have dinner, we were still laughing. And we were tuckered out, man. We did a lot of steps. It was a hot day.
Yep.
We were at the end.
Well, I mean, so by the time we hit the GWB and we had our first experience of fruit salespeople on Route 95 walking.
I've never seen that before. That blew my mind.
Walking down the middle lane, there were people literally walking down the center of Route 95 selling bagged cantaloupe and grapes to cars, and
not the center like the median. They were walking on the dotted line.
Of the highway. Yeah, with cars going by. But people were stopping. Like I was sitting there going, who buys cantaloupe from somebody walking down the highway? But people were stopping and giving money and getting bags of grapes or cantaloupe. So it obviously works, and they wouldn't be doing it if they didn't sell a bunch of it. So good for them to be able to do that. But we hit the bridge and took a left as we've done many times in the past, and made our way down to Morris Union to see our friend Eric Hammerdale. And Keith Gourlay surprised us with being on site too when we toured that high school. And talk about an experience. First of all, just what that team does at that school. The high school takes in students from 27, I think it was, communities in the area, and 100% of the students are autistic. There's about 200 kids that attend there, and it is an amazing space. It's one of only a couple of schools like it in the country, and we saw every square inch. I mean, it was 220,000 square feet, I think.
Yeah.
It was 200,000 with a 20,000 square foot expansion that we got to see, and it was just we could have been there. We could have been there for a day.
Oh yeah, we could have spent much more time there. It was absolute. I mean, for me personally, emotionally, my wife started her career in special ed and has a degree in it.
Yeah.
My daughter, who went through school on an IEP, she was on an education plan for some issues, who now has her master's and teaches special ed and teaches a full autism class of 8 students.
Wow.
And I see what she does every day. Her total class is 8 students. These people at the school had 200 students, 100% autism in the population.
Yeah.
And the building, the way it was built, there was so much thought put into every nook and cranny of it.
Yeah.
Main Street, I thought was amazing. They have businesses from the community who set up shop on their what they call Main Street. It's a lower corridor in the building. They have a TD Bank. They had a paint supply store. They had a ShopRite, which is a small grocery store, complete with a scanner and a line to move a belt to move the groceries through.
With real groceries.
They had a florist. And it's all to teach these kids life skills and how to live in the real world. Yeah. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, that was just one little piece of it. Then there was the diner. They had a 1950s diner that helps the kids learn how to be out in a restaurant and order food. And when I looked at the menu, there was 7 pages. That menu in that diner had more pages than the place that we ate at for dinner that night, a full-fledged restaurant. It had more pages and more options in that diner. And then there's not only the kitchen that puts out the food for the kids that are ordering, there's also a kitchen behind it that's all electric, which is safer for the kids so that they can learn how to cook.
Yeah.
I mean, they thought of everything. They thought of everything.
Let's talk about thinking of everything. There is a 30-some-odd foot palm tree in one of the most impressive lobbies or entrances of any school you'll ever see. And from what I understand, that was created and designed because there was one of the students, before the school was built, one of the students, the parents took the child on vacation to Orlando and had never seen a hotel lobby before, and for 5 days was reacted to it with screaming and discomfort, and it essentially ruined the vacation in a way. And so they
designed it after a Hilton lobby.
Right.
They went to the Hilton companies and got. I mean, it has the round ramps and stairwells around the edges. It has 3 stories, vaulted ceiling with a skylight at the top and a palm tree in the middle. And you think you're in a hotel lobby when you come there. And it's to teach that population of students how to overcome those fears. Phenomenal. I've never seen anybody do anything like that.
Go in every day to that school to go through that, so that when they go someplace outside, that environment, that they don't get uncomfortable or have issue, is nothing short of extraordinary at that level of detail that they have. The gaming room that they have. That was
just the chairs alone. Never mind the equipment, the software, the joysticks, and all that. Just the chairs to sit in alone. I was trying to figure out how to roll one out and get it in your truck, but I knew that wasn't the right thing to do. But it was. I mean, lumbar support, leather, headrest. It had everything. Armrest. Unbelievable.
Well, the thing that kept resonating with me. The school's 17 years young, and Eric Ammerdale, the director of facilities, is the original facility director. Right. And the thing that resonated with me over and over again, first of all, his pride of ownership is like nothing I've ever seen. But something that resonated with me that you talk about all over the country with facility professionals is you have to have a seat at the table. You have to be able to talk about the things that you know that the school will need, why they'll need it, and help with the design. And he did a lot of that.
And
it
how
was
we're going to maintain it. He was part of the construction.
right.
And our good friend Kenny Wirtz and I have been screaming from the rooftops for the past 15 years. We need to be part of the planning, part of the design, include us. We've gone to the Massachusetts School Building Authority and told them that, and they've bought in with it. They agree that we need to be part, because when all the construction crew leaves and those trucks drive down the street and we see their taillights, we own the building. They hand you a set of keys, or they hand you a fob, or whatever today's thing is, and then we have to take care of it. We have to maintain it for the rest of our careers. And so we need to be part of all of that at the beginning. And Eric was there from the beginning. He took us up, in the attic, out on the rooftops. We could see all the rooftop units, the spaces that he designed on the back of a napkin.
I was gonna bring that up. Talk about that space, because that was impressive. And you and I both talked about this, and there's only one other school that's actually done something like this.
Yep. It was added on after the original construction. I guess when they built the original construction, the way I understood it was there was a space that was for future expansion, which I guess didn't take long to futurely expand. Yeah. and they expanded into it. And the designer was going to put the HVAC heat pumps, because they have geothermal wells, and they were going to put the heat pumps in the classroom, in a closet in each classroom. And Eric said, and he made this statement several times as we were walking, why does anyone want to impact the students and the learning going on to change a filter,
right?
To service a unit? We can't have it in a classroom. The classrooms are for the kids. They're for the students. And so he said and he kept talking about a number two there, and the name escapes me. Yep. But him and his number two designed it on a napkin.
Yeah.
He said they sat down and they wrote it on the back of a napkin and brought it to the designer and said, this is what we want. We want to build above the ceiling a steel gauge platform, and put all the equipment in there, and you can walk through that. Once you get through the 5'8" door, you can walk for Keith Golay had a tough time getting through that 5'8" door.
We bring the 6'7" guy with us for the 5'8"
go through the 5'8" door. Yeah. But once you go through that door, you could walk upright, you could change filters, you could work on the equipment, you could do all your calibrations, you could do everything inside, out of the weather, and not have to deal with heat, snow, ice. There's how many days is it comfortable on the roof of a school?
Right. In New England. In New England, you either got it boiling hot, which it was 98 when we were there.
Right.
And we were very comfortable in that space. And the space was over a hallway, not over a classroom. So even if you were a little bit noisy with your work that you were doing, it wouldn't impact the classroom, which I thought was just so well thought out.
Yeah.
Because there was space that they could have put it further in other areas that would have been over classroom space. So the design and the way that they did it all was nothing short of amazing.
Right. And then they took us down to the pool. Not only do they have
pools,
a pool with swimming lanes, like a typical pool you'd see in a high school, they have a zero entry pool, a second pool which is zero entry, which means you can walk right into the water. The water at the edge of the water comes up to the pool deck.
Yeah.
And you can walk in and down a small sloping ramp, and within that space, I think it was 4 feet deep at the deepest, there was a whole bunch of sensory equipment for the kids to use in that pool.
Yeah.
I mean, who thinks of that? One pool is a pain in the neck to keep up as a maintenance facilities guy, and he had 2 pools.
Yeah.
It was absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And the level of detail all the way down to the painted concrete and obviously they provide the pool for the surrounding 6 school districts as well. So it's not just their students, but it's the surrounding 6 school districts that have swim teams. So the parents come wearing their shoes on the swim decks, which are all cement concrete that's painted. And he knows all the way down to stuff that I would never think about as far as the wear and tear based on the shoes rubbing on the cement, the concrete, how often it needs to be repaired, painted, and scraped. And I just thought that was just amazing because it's just
Right. How
stuff I
much? How
never would
much
have
gets
thought of.
dragged off You knew how much gets dragged off the bottom of people's shoes and
Yeah.
gets stuck in that non-slip
Yep.
surface of the rough finish concrete.
Yep.
Uh,
It-
Absolutely amazing. Not only the building, but the man that runs it, that took us around. He was so proud of that space,
yeah.
and he
You
should
know,
be. He should be.
100%. And what was really what I took away, one of the things that I took away was, this is a huge space, and a lot of times people put spaces together, just looking for the ribbon cutting. It's going to look good, and they don't think about things like you and I. We were sitting there like, how do you dust that?
Yeah.
How do you get to that how do you get to that light after you put the first light in? Because I don't know how we get to that. And what was cool about Eric was there were a couple of those, how do you deal with this, or how in the world would you do that? And it's like, oh, we figured it out. We made this extra door over here after the fact so we could get a lift in, and we brought the lift in, and then we moved like all the way down to the placement of the lights in the pool, so
Right.
that when the pool lights are on, and how they are aimed, because sometimes if you put lights down onto a pool, someone could be under the water and you wouldn't even know it. And so just the placement of the lights and the ease of changing the light placement so that they're easier to change out. It was like all the challenges that they were faced with after construction. They figured it out, and they figured it out pretty
Right.
fast.
And the equipment that you needed to do the right job, and he got it.
Mhm.
And he told us in order to change those bulbs, he needs an articulating lift that goes out over the water,
Yeah,
then up, and then back into the lighting.
yeah,
So it's not like a regular genie lift that, as we know it, that you set it up under the light and you go straight up to the light.
yeah.
So he had all of that down pat. And then I guess one of the big things I was impressed with was, I'm for those that don't know, and I'm not sure how much you know about this, Josh, but I'm a volunteer member in my town on the school building committee. We're building 2 new high schools ground up, and we're renovating the third high school. I'm sorry, elementary schools ground up, and the third elementary school, and then we're going to build a new high school. And I am one of 11 members of this school building committee. And then aside from that, there is the town council that we answer to, because they're funding it and they're the people that answer to the townspeople. But when I looked at and at the end of the project is done, you cut the ribbon. There's a plaque. There's always a plaque.
Yeah.
My name's on the plaque as being part of the school building committee. The town council's name's on a plaque. So I got 12 people here. I got another 12 people there. He had over 32 names on the plaque in that lobby.
Yep.
Of people that represented the different communities that are part of that school system, and everyone had doctor in the front.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if they were all medical doctors or they had doctorants, but it was to answer to that many very smart people.
Yeah.
In a construction project isn't easy to do.
Right.
And he was Eric was like, yeah, those are all the people that worked with the building. And it was like, man, I tell people before I started working for the schools, I had long curly locks.
Yeah.
And, and he just does it so calmly. He just like moves on and goes on to the next thing.
Well, that's really the refreshing piece for me is you and I deal with a lot of experience with burnout. Schools that have a high level of burnout, early retirements, extreme short staff. Like they can't find people to fill vacant positions, and then they have additional vacant positions. And what was so refreshing in both instances, and we'll get into the next stop. Next, it was calm, cool, and collected. Like
Yep.
they love what they do. It shows. Their teams, again, Eric's team, when they were walking in the hall, they knew he was there. They all were outgoing, and Eric was, someone said, hey, this guy's looking for you, and Eric goes down the hallway, and it was somebody that was making a delivery tomorrow and wanted to make sure that Eric was okay with it. And it's just like,
right.
You could tell. And by the way, Eric's got 2 other buildings, and they're not
right.
they're not close to each other.
Right.
Like these are regional schools. Again, 27 communities. So it's not like, he's got three offices essentially, which is pretty wild.
And then most of the people that we came across, most of the staff that we came across, we caught them working.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Every one of them.
Yep.
It was absolutely amazing. It's quite a, and then, we go back to, filling the spots and all the people that are retiring, and back to our friend Myrique.
Yeah.
And how do we fill the positions that are opening up, and the great resignation and everything that we're dealing with nowadays. And Keith has the program to bring in, we talked about it in our episode 26 or whatever it was. And Myrique, he came out to lunch with us, and he was just such a pleasure to be there, and thanked us so much for being there.
Well, I don't know if
you're our host. We're coming to see you, and you're thanking us for being there.
Yeah. I don't know if you caught it, but I mean, Myrique's 1 week on the job as the custodial supervisor for the largest elementary school in the district. And we were coming out from lunch. Keith had made reference to one of his team members and one of his custodians. And Myrique stepped up and he said, hey, whenever there's a chance for him to get certified for the next thing or the next, Myrique already had done what I'm going to talk about, which is career pathing all of your staff. Myrique was already doing that.
A week on the job. And he was talking about moving the next guy up.
Yep. I mean, not even missing one beat of anything. I mean, that's the type of caliber of people that you want. You want to bottle this stuff up and spray it around everywhere. So we leave Morris Union. We get in the car for yet another 45-minute, 1 hour drive to go. At this point, I think we're going south. We're going to Princeton, New Jersey, where we're going to stay. And
near my alma mater. What's the matter, you?
Yeah. And so we're driving, and I say, Paul, I want to take you to the nicest restaurant in all of Princeton, New Jersey. I don't know where that is, but we're going to find it, and we're going to go to the nicest restaurant. And,
at this point, someone should say, hey, Paul, how did that work out for you?
So I say, hey, let's check into the hotel first. Now, we check in. We're at, somewhere between 350 and 400 miles for the day, with getting lost a little bit on a couple of occasions and just roundabouts and all that stuff. So we've done better part of 350 plus miles. And we check into the hotel. Our game plan is to go down to the lobby to have a celebratory beer and to figure out where we were going to go to dinner. And I think we both looked at each other and realized that we were both, this is like 5:30, 6 o'clock. And we were out of gas.
12 hours. 12 hours from the start time.
12 hours of intense nonstop, and emails, phone calls, all sorts of, business was usual through the day. So it was a full day. So we're sitting at the bar having a beer, and we look at the bartender and we say, hey, how's the food? And he says, well, we've been open for a week. It's great. And then he says, try anything except for the salmon. So we were
don't have the salmon. He said,
don't have the salmon.
Because I said, when Josh said, how's the food? I said, what do you think he's going to say? He works here. He's going to tell you everything's great. And this guy turns around and says, yeah, don't have the salmon.
Yeah. So we knew that our choices were not limited, but they were limited to everything other than the salmon, which was cool. And so then he proceeded to tell us that the prime rib is amazing, which Paul asked, really amazing? And it wasn't prime rib, it was
ribeye.
Ribeye. And so Paul says, is it really amazing? And he says, for a hotel, absolutely. And
we still stayed.
We still stayed. The beer was cold. The entertainment was good, and we had a blast. We had the most amazing hotel ribeye you could have in Princeton, New Jersey, and closed out the night with a nightcap in the hotel room. And the story that is always entertaining that people like is when Paul and I travel together. I don't. This is typically on the Be Awesome Bootstrap Express. So I typically get one hotel room, but I always say to Amy when she asks, about the hotel room, I say I don't get those side by side beds with a nightstand. I don't do pillow talk. I find a hotel that's got like an executive suite type thing, which has got a bedroom with one bed and then a living room with a pull out couch, and so in Ohio, I upgraded us. When we were in Ohio in April, I upgraded us to the presidential suite. I got it for like $20 more than what the regular room was. And I called Paul. I said, hey, good news, we got the presidential suite. And he calls me back and he says, I see it's only got one bed. And I go, exactly. When you save someone when you save someone's life, you always get the big bed. I'll take the couch. So we go up and we're in the living room / my bedroom. There's one phone in the entire room, which is in the bedroom. And Paul says, hey, I'm going to go to sleep. And I had called down to ask for extra bedding for the pull-out couch. And just before Paul goes to his room, the door knocks and he goes to the door. I was on the phone, and in comes Paul with this huge stack of what looks like blankets and pillows and everything else. He puts it on the counter. He goes to bed, and I'm on the phone for a little bit longer, and I'm just exhausted, and I'm getting ready to go get the blankets and pillows. And come to find out, they just brought me up a stack of towels. So, so off I go because they took the phone off the hook. Off I go down to the lobby. My blanket was, what was my blanket? It was a bed.
It was a mattress cover.
So
a mattress cover.
Paul gets up the next morning. I'm on the floor. My blanket is a mattress cover because the pull-out couch didn't actually have a mattress. It had like a burlap sack that had lots of pulls and bars in it. So Paul comes out the next morning. I'm on the floor with a mattress cover for a blanket, 1.5 pillows, and about 57 towels. And then that's how we started our day. He got up at 4:30 and went to the treadmill. I took a shower, got dressed, and right after that, my alarm clock went off, and I started the day. So 5:30 again, off we go, rock and roll, strut and stroll, and we go to see our amazingly awesome friends with the New Jersey School Building and Grounds Association. And we've talked about them before. Keith Gourlay, executive director, has been on the episode.
But we got to meet with all of the upper echelon of all of their chapters.
Yeah.
I mean, it blows my mind, their organization and the way they put it together and how well organized they are. And we got to see it at the top, all of the top, it was amazing to see.
Yeah, there was roughly 50 people in attendance. There's 10 chapters throughout the state, and each of the states file up to the mothership of the New Jersey School Building and Grounds Association. So there's Mercer County, there's I can't remember all of the counties, but there's 10 of them that all have their chapters with their chapter meetings, with their chapter leaders that all get together for this summer summit, leadership summit, for a half day for everybody to get together and compare notes and get professional development. And I had an amazing honor to speak on coping with stress, which is a fun and scary one all in itself, because it was a talk that I filled in for Kenny Wirtz, who we talk about all the time. He had some losses in the family, and I pinch hitted for him, and was well received. And a lot of it comes from what I see from the audience before I speak. So I sit and observe for the hour going up, and I try to understand, who I'm speaking to, and then I kind of craft a presentation out of that. But showed a video that was pretty hard to show, that I've never showed before, with my grandmother falling, unfortunately, and talked
falling in front of your Ring camera. I just don't want people to think that you're taking videos of your grandmother falling.
No. And the stress that caused, and kind of the reaction and things that you do, and had great conversation. I think it was great, because it was great to have you there. It really is. Like, I mean, I referenced you probably 15 or 20 times, and being able to have someone that's close like you are with me, to not just validate, but just, articulate or help with some things, because remembering all of those facts, figures, numbers, ideas, thoughts, and everything, in the story sometimes is difficult, but just to have you there, watching.
I think the most impressive part, other than me, the most impressive part was at the very beginning, when you asked everybody to stand up if they were there for the first time.
Yeah.
And we talked so much about feeder programs and getting people involved and getting people, into our industry, for one, but then to get them involved in, our associations.
Yeah.
And how many people out of 50 that there was, what, 15 that stood up that were first timers at a meeting like that?
Yeah.
It's amazing that, they have, they're bringing up their newer members. Keith Gourlay, as we said, he's not going to be there forever, and people need to realize that.
Yeah.
In Massachusetts, I hope people realize Kenny Wirtz isn't going to be there forever. We
Yeah.
need people to step up and to move into those positions and keep these associations going, because they're such an important part of our industry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think it's just this industry. I think there's other industries that are similar to it. But many industries, the mindset and the discussion, and we don't realize how talking affects and impacts our psyche, right? I mean, the reason I did that was because people were announcing that they were retired and people were applauding them, which
Right.
they
They
should.
went around the room and asked
Right.
everybody to introduce themselves.
Which they should. You should applaud someone that's given 5, 10, 15, 30, 40 years of service. But we should also equally, if not even greater, at times recognize the people that are taking the leap to get into a wildly underserved, unsung hero role, especially in this world of this who we're working with and talking to this week, and give them the affirmation and appreciation for taking that step. And that was kind of where I had a huge aha moment yesterday. And you and I talked about it for our long drive back about, the mindset and how people look at things, and how some people would literally, when they would introduce themselves, as if it was some sort of badge of honor, they'd say their name and then the number of years until they retire. If you're counting down the days and years until you retire, you're counting down days and years before you probably expire. Let's not you're counting down days to retirement. You're going to be in your 60s.
Right.
The number of years you have left are a lot less than when you're 30s.
I can't tell you how many times when I've gone to work after I retired and people say, I tell them I'm retired, I'm doing this consulting, blah blah blah, and they say, "Oh, I'm so jealous. I can't wait till I'm there." It's like, don't wish your life away, man.
Right. Enjoy
Don't wish
every
your life.
minute.
Enjoy where you are and what you're doing. Don't wish
Enjoy
your
that
life
journey.
away.
Yep.
It just comes too quick.
Yeah. No, I'll tell you, what New Jersey's doing, again, we can't say it enough. They just do amazing stuff.
Yeah, they're killing it.
And they've got great people. I mean,
Yep.
The smiles, Norma's just, hey, does anybody smile too much? And Norma she was smiling from ear to ear the whole time.
Right.
It was her first event.
First time at the event.
And I told her, and people were around, and I said, make your smile contagious. And she says, oh, I do. And that's pretty powerful, because that positive mindset and that positive attitude has a trickle down effect a lot greater than most people know.
Yeah. And then our old friend, Kim Keener.
Yep.
She was a facilities manager there.
Yep.
She was an officer in the New Jersey outfit.
Yeah.
And she's working privately for a company, for Ferguson Plumbing Supplies, but she still goes to the meetings as a vendor associate, I guess is what they call them. Right. But still, she's involved, and she's still there, and she cares.
Right.
Those are the people.
Yeah, and she's not there to sell, or I guess it's plumbing supplies. She's there to share her experience and her knowledge of the association and of the occupation, which is really cool, because in a lot of places you see these people that are selling stuff, right?
Right.
They get brought into the private sector, they were in public sector, and they come in and they've got their tchotchkes and their business cards out and everything else, and it's like just a class act. Like sits in the room with all of her peers and talks about being a facility director. And and I think I said this in the talk yesterday, but up until a couple of years ago, she was outnumbered 99-1.
Oh yeah.
Right? There was 100 people, and it was so great to see some real added diversity to the audience. And I hope that continues to grow, and we keep seeing more people just deciding to want to get into the profession, because it's a great one, and there's great people and just amazing people. Can't say enough awesome stuff about what New Jersey's doing. So if you're an association in building and grounds, facility management, anything that has to do with education operations, you definitely want to follow Keith Gourlay and his team because they're just
Yep.
there's one paid employee, the rest is volunteers, and what they do is nothing short of extraordinary. So, we wrap up on the hottest day of the year.
Yeah.
We get in the truck, it's triple digits. Originally, we started to make our way to George Washington Bridge. You get 30 minutes or 40 minutes to get to the GWB, and by the time we got on the highway, it turned to 87 minutes. Popeye's Chicken stop off at the Vince Lombardi rest area that we still can't figure out how you get on and off the highway or how you get there. There's enough figure eights and on ramps, off ramps to get there, but we made it.
And then just so people understand my life here, in the meantime, I call my wife on the phone to let her know we're on our way home. And I said, "Where are you?" And she says, "Well, I'm sitting in a restaurant with the grandkids eating lobster rolls."
Yep.
And I said, "I'm sitting in a truck with Josh eating Popeye's chicken."
Which was delicious.
It was delicious, but somehow the balance really wasn't there. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it was life on the road with me is filled with interesting food choices, interesting driving techniques,
skills.
And, we found a couple of cutoffs. So was it the Hutchinson Parkway?
Hutchinson Parkway cut out like 3 miles or 4 miles of stop traffic.
Yeah, it was awesome. I'm going to do that every time we go down there now.
Yeah.
Vegetable salespeople, and we literally get back to the park and ride. Your truck, no scratches, no. Yeah.
No dents, no dings, no scratches. Everything was in place, and off we went.
You know what was amazing before we go that I think was what I noticed when I was there at 5:30 in the morning. I'm sure you caught it. There were a lot of parked trucks there that had nobody in them already, and there were a lot of trucks pulling in to go to work. And our skilled labor force, and we talked about it with the crane putting the American flag, putting the boom up with the American flag at 2:30 and or 3:30, and we said, "Oh, you said wrapping it up for the day." And I was like, "Oh, I'm wrapping it up for the day," because my brain still, as much as I know and as much as I get up early, and because I don't have a clock, I work when you work, right? Whenever somebody needs me in the industry that I serve, whether it's public speaking or facility management and technology and services, I'm always up. And so when you said that, I'm like, that's right. These guys were all parked at 5 o'clock in the morning at the parking ride, waiting for their ride.
Get to the job site at 6 o'clock or 6:30 and start their day. So at 2:30, they're raising the flag. They're on their way home, man.
Yeah. So that was really kind of eye opening and something I had a lot of appreciation for. But when I was driving home after I dropped you off, I was sad. I'm not going to lie. I was sad. You were probably happy. I mean, you were like, thank God I'm going to be home in 30 minutes. I'm going to get some time off. I'm going to relax. I'm going to have a drink because I deserve it and I need it to calm my nerves. But I had already missed the adventure because it was just so cool. So I've already got our next adventure. I haven't even, I'm going to break it to you in the next week or so because I got to finish it off, but I've already got it. We've already got it, and we need to
bring it on.
So
bring it on.
Here's what I think. I think we need to find sponsors. That's what I think we need to do. We need to have sponsors, like a monthly sponsor, and every month you and I take a 36-hour whirlwind tour. Some of them might be by plane, some of them might be train, whatever. But go and find, I think once a month, we need to go on a whirlwind tour, and we need to go and see a couple of school districts, maybe throw in some universities.
Well, people were getting jealous at the meeting. That guys were saying, you got to visit northern New Jersey now. You've come here, you've gone to Mercer County, and it's like now you got to go to northern New Jersey. It's like, whoa, they're getting jealous. They want us to go visit this, and it's because they're so proud of their facility.
Yeah,
put a lot of work, and their staff puts a lot of work into it, and they want to show it. They want us to show it, and that's great. That's what it's all about, right there. That's worth more than anything.
Yeah. So unless you're watching the Philly news. With the reporter squatting on the sprinkler head, news isn't fun to watch, and a lot of the times that you see education institutions, they're in a bad light. And so I want to have a commitment, and I'm going to put you on the spot, and I'm going to tell you that you don't have an option. That we're going to find a way for us to at least do one site visit a month, and it could be anywhere in the country. We'll figure it out, whether whether we put it on miles and points, or we do it through Be Awesome, or we get some sponsors that say, hey, we want to fund this trip because it's so much fun, and maybe go on the trip or two with us. So you got to be kind of daring and have a helmet. But we're gonna go out. We're gonna see more schools on the Be Awesome at FM LinkedIn page. We're gonna showcase and share videos and pictures of all the people that are doing awesome. So if you're listening to this and you're one of those schools, send us a line that you want us to come out, and we're gonna put you on the list. I mean, we've got to go up to New Hampshire. We've got to go up to New Hampshire to see a couple of schools that we've already got committed to. We got to go see Mount Olive.
Yeah, that was something. That video that we saw in Mount Olive. I'd love to be there for Friday Night Lights in October when the football team's playing.
Well, that's the thing. I think that we're going to get invited to schools that they're going to want us to be a part of some of their events, not just walk the halls when they're empty, which I think will be really cool. So I've been working on it basically all night as far as an idea of how do we keep doing this, because I always have fun with you. I mean, I'm not gonna,
and one thing I do notice is that you're pretty tough when the door's closed and Amy can't hear you, and my wife's down at the beach with the grandkids.
Yeah,
yeah, we talk about let's travel, let's take off, let's go to all these places.
I'll get permission from your wife, Ann.
Thank you.
I will.
Thank you.
Yes, I'll get
permission.
I'll
talk to Amy. I'll talk to Amy for you too.
Yeah, let's figure it out. We got to.
Yeah. Her and I bonded yesterday on your driving skills.
Yes, exactly. So, but no, I think it'd be great. I think maybe it's not once a month, but we'll figure something out where it's more regular than.
I'm in. Let's do it.
Yeah,
let's do it.
I think it's really cool, and do it so that we do the visit and then we do the podcast, because that's where we. Yeah. I'm not gonna say we messed up, but I would have loved to have gotten time with Myrique and Keith Watkins in their district and shown us there on the podcast.
Right.
Because that'd be really cool. So I think we need to do podcasts when we're on site. So
yeah.
I just think that that it's something we got to do. So
all right,
you got to get to the beach. I got to get going myself here. I've got another podcast on the regular Be Awesome today that I've got Jen Drummond, who you heard about, that she's the first woman that's attempting to climb the seven second highest peaks in 7 continents.
Yeah.
Which what I didn't know is the second highest peaks are actually more technical and difficult than the first highest peaks.
And not only that, she does that for fun. Other than that, she's bringing up 7 kids.
Yes. So if you want to listen to the just standard Be Awesome channel at 5 p.m., we're going to have that live and we'll be able to take questions and all that stuff. This week's Unsung Heroes, Paul, I got to do it because they were so awesome to us. I got to give a shout out and give the Unsung Heroes, because I know they've done a million different things to both the New Rochelle and the Morris Union school districts for having us, for hosting us, and what they do every single day in and day out for every kid in every
all
class.
behind the scenes.
All behind the scenes. And so that they are the absolute unsung heroes that we talk about, and getting to see them and for them to give us some of their time during the busiest time of year for them. As we talk about, school's closed, but it's open for our facility professionals and our IT professionals, our transportation professionals, food services and business office. They're going 1,000 miles an hour to make sure that everything turns on and runs come September 1st. So thank you very much, Keith and Eric and your teams, and awesome to meet you, Myrique, in person. Can't wait to do it again. And that'll do it for us here for this week. We're going to have some guests for next week. We're going to have a lot more fun doing it all over again. I'm going to work on our guest right after this while you're on the beach, and I'll send you a note or two. And in the meantime, we're doing a great job. Please, 5-star rating and reviews. We're working our way up the ranks. We want to get to the top 5% by the end of the year. That'll give us about 55 episodes under our belt in just under 12 months, and that'll get us in the top 5% of 4 million channels, which would get us more people. So 5-star rating and reviews. If it's not a 5-star rating, our complaint department stays the same yet again one more week. Paul, Paul, at beawesome.com. He will take all of your criticisms and complaints and put them into a nice little report so we can do better. But if we are doing awesome, please share our page, follow, subscribe, all that fun stuff, because we want to grow this thing, expand it, and we want to share more of all the awesome that you're doing. So in the meantime, if you can be anything, be awesome. Have a great day.